Have you ever heard a story so bizarre, so utterly strange, that it sounds like pure fiction? History, often seen as a collection of grand battles and political maneuvers, is also a treasure trove of the weird and the wonderful. It hides tales in its forgotten corners that defy our modern understanding of life, love, and commitment. Today, we're going to uncover one of those tales, a story that pushes the boundaries of what we consider normal. This is the story of one of the strangest marriages ever recorded. To understand just how peculiar this union was, we must first travel back in time. Let's journey to 18th century England. A period of great change and rigid social structures. It was an era defined by propriety, class, and strict rules governing every aspect of life, especially marriage. For the wealthy, marriage was less about love and more about strategy, a way to merge fortunes, secure land, and climb the social ladder. For the common person, it was about survival, partnership, and upholding community standards. Love was a welcome bonus, but duty often came first. Deviating from these norms could lead to scandal, ostracism, or even legal trouble. In this world of strict expectations, our story begins, centered around a man whose name would become synonymous with eccentricity: Jack Mytton, born in 1796. John Jack Mytton was an English squire, a member of Parliament, and an infamous eccentric. He inherited a vast fortune and a sprawling estate, Halston Hall in Shropshire, at a very young age. With seemingly endless wealth, and no one to rein him in, Mytton's life became a whirlwind of outrageous stunts and reckless behavior. He was known for his love of hunting, drinking, and gambling, often taking things to absurd extremes. Legend has it he once rode a bear into his own dinner party, scattering his terrified guests. He was said to have drunk 6 bottles of port wine a day and would often arrive at formal events in nothing but his nightshirt. His life was a performance, and he was always the star of his own chaotic show. But even for a man famous for his bizarre antics, what he did in the realm of marriage would cement his legacy as one of history's great oddballs. The story goes that Jack Mytton, in a fit of frustration with his uncooperative horse, decided to take drastic action. The horse, a mare named Baroness, was a fine racehorse, but had a stubborn streak. She refused to take offense during a hunt, embarrassing her master in front of his peers. Mytton, never one to let a challenge go unanswered, came up with a truly unique solution. He declared that if the mare wouldn't obey him as her master, perhaps she would obey him as her husband. And so, in a move that baffled even his closest friends, Jack Mytton decided to marry his horse. Now, this wasn't a legally binding ceremony recognized by the church or state. It was a Mytton-style wedding, a grand, theatrical event designed for shock and spectacle. He allegedly had a local parson, likely coerced or heavily paid, perform a mock ceremony in the stables of Halston Hall. Mytton dressed in his finest hunting attire, while the mare, Baroness, was adorned with a bridal veil and a garland of flowers around her neck. Witnesses, a mix of amused servants and bewildered friends, watched as Mytton exchanged vows with his equine bride. He promised to love, honor, and cherish her, placing a custom-made ring on. Well, it's unclear where the ring went, but the gesture was made. The ceremony concluded with a lavish feast in the stables, where Mytton toasted to his new bride, who was probably more interested in her bucket of oats. As you can imagine, news of the marriage spread like wildfire. In the local pubs and village markets, the story was told and retold, each time growing more fantastical. Was Mytton mad? Was it his most elaborate prank yet? Or was it a strange, drunken act of defiance against a world he found too serious? Newspapers of the time, though not as sensational as today's tabloids, picked up on the whispers. Caricaturists and satirists had a field day, publishing cartoons depicting the squire and his horse bride. For the rigid, polite society of the era, it was a scandal of the highest order, a joke that went too far. It confirmed what many already suspected, that Jack Mytton's wealth had bought him the freedom to live completely outside the bounds of reason and decency. His reputation as Mad Jack was now firmly and irrevocably sealed. So, what happened after this strange union? For Baroness the horse, life likely continued as usual, filled with hay training, and hopefully, a bit more cooperation. For Jack Mytton, however, The marriage was just another chapter in a life of relentless excess. His extravagant spending and gambling continued unabated. He poured money into his stables, his hunts, and his wild parties. But such a lifestyle could not last forever. Eventually, Mitten's colossal fortune, once thought to be inexhaustible, ran dry. He spent everything. Hounded by creditors, he fled to France to escape debtor's prison. But his demons followed him. His health, ravaged by years of heavy drinking, deteriorated rapidly. He returned to England, only to be arrested and thrown into prison, a place he had so desperately tried to avoid. In 1834, at the age of just 37, Jack Mitten died in King's Bench Prison, destitute and alone. His grand funeral procession was attended by thousands, a testament to the strange, magnetic pull of his personality. People mourned not a respectable squire, but a folk hero of sorts, a man who lived without fear and without limits. His story became a cautionary tale, a lesson on the dangers of wealth without wisdom. And the story of his marriage to his horse became a legendary footnote in his wild biography, a symbol of his ultimate rebellion against a world that he simply couldn't, or wouldn't, fit into. What can we take away from this bizarre piece of history? The tale of Jack Mitten and his horse bride is more than just a funny anecdote. It has a glimpse into the mind of a man who used his privilege to create his own reality, however absurd. It reminds us that history is not just made by kings and queens, but also by the rebels, the eccentrics, and the outliers who dare to live differently. These strange stories, often stranger than any fiction we could invent, add color and texture to the past. They challenge our perceptions and show us that the human experience has always been wonderfully, and sometimes ridiculously, diverse. In every forgotten corner of history, there are tales waiting to be told, each one proving that the truth is often the most unbelievable story of all. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel The Whispering Archives. Until next time.